the number 18 for each time it goes through the loop. We're now going to make a reaction controller. RC is just going to be our variable that's going to store it. So I'm going to say equals, and now we need to know what we're adding that reaction controller to. So it'll be these tracks, but not just these tracks directly, because we actually we put on it, I'm just going to go down and just open it up here. We actually put on here a list controller, so we need to make sure we get the second controller in the list and not the first. So let's grab this by name. I'm going to cut and paste this. So $ tells us that we're working with an object in max, so the over body dot morpher. And I'm going to do this just actually typing in the number. We're going to replace 13 with the letter I. But just so you can see it, this currently will return the actual target, this first target back that we're dealing with. So it's actually returning that track right there. We need this track down here. So the next thing to do is say dot controller, and if I evaluate that line to there, that's returning the float list. That is this list actually. And we need to get which controller in it, and it'll be the second one, so number 2. So that's getting the Bezier float controller that's in here, and we actually want to state that it's the controller we need directly. And what we want to do is on that controller, because it's currently a Bezier float, we need to make it a float reactor controller. So I happen to know that's what it's called. Look controllers up in MaxScript, and you'll see what it'll tell you what the controllers are called. And if I just evaluate this, you'll see that it actually returns a float reaction controller. So when that line evaluates now, it'll add a float reaction controller to the second track in the list controllers. Let's change this back to a letter I now, so that when the loop goes through, it'll go through number 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and do the same thing to it. Once we've done that, we need to take the reaction controller and we have to tell it what it's going to react to. So in this case, it's going to be the this object here. So I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to say, and the command for dealing with reaction manager and setting up reaction states is react to. The next thing we list, sorry, is not that, is the controller that's going to be controlled, basically the slave controller. Then we need to list the controller that is going to be controlling it. So this controller here is the one we're looking for. And in this case, it's right barrow dot position dot controller. And again, if I evaluate that, it's a position list on there. We're actually looking for the first one in the list. If you remember, we set that up so that the first controller is the one that's active. It's the one we're animating on. And the second controller had the script controller in it that was stopping the first controller from going too far, so it didn't go out of bounds here. So that's the position XYZ. And if we want, we could either list X underscore position for this, or we can actually do it by iteration again, and we can say it's the first controller in that controller, and that returns the X position. And again, we need the controller. So in Max, you have to state that you need that controller, and it's returning the Bezier flow controller here. And so it's going to say react to this. And now when we evaluate this piece of code, what it's going to do is it's going to loop through, and it's going to apply a float reactor controller to each of the tracks that we want to control, and it's immediately going to add that here into our reactions. And I'll just evaluate that, and you can see now that under our X we have all those float reaction controllers. And if we take a look again under here, you can see that Each one has a float reaction controller added to it. Now what you want to do is you want to save this